Hi, I'm Rachel Saint and I am a partner and co-founder of Property Elite. So I deal within the business with quite a lot of candidates who are looking at the senior professional route to APC assessment. And in the senior professional route, there is a particular emphasis on the competency of leadership. Leadership can be a little bit confusing for candidates because they might not be used to articulating their style of leadership or the kind of leadership that they employ within their business or organisation. So today I've asked Dan Jacob to come onto this video cast to have a chat about leadership as a concept and to provide some insight into what that can mean in practice. So Dan, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. Happy to be here.
No problem. So what I'd like to understand, Dan, is what sort of person can be a leader? Is that something that anybody can do, or is it a particular type of personality that makes a good leader?
Really good question, Rachel. I think we're in this day and age, I think anyone can be a leader. I think there's definitely a lot of different leadership styles. For example, some are probably more vocal, whereas others maybe lead by example. But I think there's definitely some common traits which kind of are a common theme among successful leaders. And I think a key one is how they view themselves. And what I mean by that is, as a leader, do you view yourself as someone who's almost above the rest, or kind of doesn't get involved with the menial tasks of people below you? Or do you see yourself as almost someone who's almost a servant of the company that take responsibility for the ones below you? I think anyone, I think anyone can be a good leader. And I think the first key element to that is probably caring and authenticity. If you're willing to serve the people, I say beneath you, the people in your team, to get the best out of them, I think that's something which anyone can learn and decide. I think it's a decision how much you care about the people you work with.
Okay, and how do you develop leadership skills in a role? How would you suggest that candidates or people that are involved in a senior position in business can develop those leadership skills?
I think asking for feedback is always really important amongst colleagues of a similar level, or even junior colleagues. I think asking feedback from anyone in the company is a really good way to understand how you're performing. But also, first and foremost, I think taking a look at yourself and self-reflecting, asking yourself, am I getting the best out of my team? Because being a leader, it's not the most about how you perform. It's not a one-man show that you're the decision maker and you always make the decisions. But am I getting the best out of everyone around me? Am I helping the people in my team thrive? And if I can't genuinely answer that question as a yes, I'd ask myself, do I feel that this colleague is, his unique strengths and talents are being utilized? Ask yourself, do I ask how my colleagues are doing, and not because just so it makes me sound better, but do I, again, the word care, do I genuinely care how they're doing? I think colleagues will only give your best for you if they like and respect you. I think you want people's best. It's not just their time, but it's their passion, it's their creativity, and they'll only give you that if they feel that you care about them, that you're authentic, and that your heart's in the right place to do the best for your team as well.
And what's the best way, do you think, to get a team to coalesce and work together well?
It's a really important question. I would look at the culture of the company. Is the culture set up in a way where bonuses and rewards are given to, say, top performing individuals, or is it more bonuses which are kind of there to encourage teamwork almost? Because if you have a kind of culture and a reward-based system where they're going to be colleagues will be competing against each other, you're not really breeding the right environment. So I think it's important to ask yourself as a company, are we providing the environment for people to work together. I think it's important that, I think a lot of founders or directors or leaders will think about the values that they want to have in their company, and it's helping each other, it's collaboration, it's giving. And I think the biggest signs, the biggest moments of giving is when, for example, you don't have the time to give, you kind of rush off your feet in between meetings, but then you still take that moment out of your day to help a colleague or an employee, and that shows, and what goes around comes around. I'm a big believer of that, and I think that'll get noticed and start breeding that culture. I think culture comes from the top. Having said that, I don't think only the CEOs or the managing directors can be leaders. I think anyone can be a leader in a company.
Sure. I always feel that leaders need to have really, really good listening skills, and that's a really key attribute to developing leadership skills. And you mentioned feedback. I mean, a lot of businesses have a sort of regulated feedback situation, which is maybe once a year. How can you foster a much more open situation with more regular feedback that leaders can really take on board?
I think transparency amongst colleagues. I think you've mentioned listening, but I also think communication's really important. I think if you don't have colleagues trying to outperform and always kind of maybe show off to each other, and maybe just a case of being open and honest and authentic, and asking your colleague or someone in the team, how do you feel I'm nurturing this new colleague? How do you think I'm leading the team? Would you do anything different? I think it's really important to ask people their opinions. I think that's just because you're the leader and the decision maker doesn't mean you should be making all the decisions. I think everyone is unique and has their own strengths and abilities, and I think they'll give you different answers which you can use. I think it's the same people.
That's very true, and that kind of brings me on to some leadership styles. And really, what you're describing is the ideal kind of democratic style of leadership there, where you're taking on board input, etc. But sometimes the buck's got to stop somewhere, hasn't it? So, are there other styles of leadership that you think are appropriate in different circumstances?
I think that an important trait of a leader is, whilst having that transparency and sharing, almost the kind of being eager to listen to other people's thoughts, that there needs to be an element of respect. That if you need to make a decision and your team maybe aren't respecting you, that you make sure that you're heard, and that it's clear that yes, we are a team, we're all equal to each other, but I think we should do this, and I need to be respected in my decision here. I think that's an element of it as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. But in terms of leadership theory, can you give us a flavour of other styles of leadership which might work within different situations within a business?
I think if you're the business, maybe a smaller business, or a business where there's a lot of conversation amongst the colleagues, they don't really believe in the message, in the culture, and what the leader's trying to get across into the company and their mission. Sometimes, rather than leaders giving speeches and whatnot, actions speak louder than words. So maybe lead through your actions rather than giving speeches on where you want the company to go. Show your staff, show your employees how you care, what your mission is.
I think what you're saying here is that it's really important that the overall mission and overall aims and strategy of the business is communicated regularly to employees and team members. And then I think maybe what you're saying is that you have to then employ different leadership styles given the situation, or even the individuals that you're dealing with within a team. So I think that's how I'd like to sum it up anyway. Am I right there, Dan?
Yeah, you absolutely are, Rachel. Everyone, not everyone in a leaders or CEO's company is going to be the same. They get inspired through different moments in different ways, and they can be helped in different opportunities. So yeah, absolutely, catering different ways to different colleagues.
Well, that's been really, really helpful. Thank you, Dan. I think there's a lot of food for thought around leadership. It's a big, big subject, but thank you very much for coming and helping us put a bit of detail behind the concept.
My pleasure, Rach.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.